That day, my dear brothers and sisters, the dead shall arise. And somebody from the congregation says, I hope he's not talking about the 8th of August. So this brings us to another conversation that has been making headlines in the country. If maybe some of you have tried it out, sending your ID number to the code 70,000 to see whether your details have been entered correctly. This has raised quite a bit of controversy. Numbers that are not fit to be ID numbers coming up as registered voters. Just 2 days after IEBC said they cleaned up the voter register and weeded out 88,000 dead voters. Again, let me begin with you, Captain. Your thoughts on this and whether this is just a technical hitch, as IEBC says.
Well, technical hitch cannot be an excuse in the sense that we need very workable kind of systems to support our data. We are talking of data, Yvonne. And the cleaning register is one thing, and the confirming that everybody is registered is a different thing. A case in study is myself. I'll give you my ID card number. I contested last general election. I'm a registered voter, but if I send my details right away to 70,000, I am not registered anywhere. I did it last night, surprisingly. I don't know if my brother Duale has tried his ways and moved me out of the register. Now you can imagine what can happen to the ordinary villager back at home, our places, yeah? Now we are talking about voters register. Kenyans believe in what our leadership tells us. We talked about a very strong integrated electoral system, Yvonne. Kenya, we conduct the general elections. We are not conducting presidential election. We are conducting 6 elections, including the presidency, in the name of a general election. Now, you are talking of a president, governor, senator, woman rep, MP, and an MC. 6 election outfits. I refer you back to the ballot paper printing. We print 6 ballot booklets for each position. In the US, they do presidential elections. They don't do general elections. And you are talking about 51 states. Out of the 51 states, 50% of the elections is done together with the presidential elections. But surprisingly, they only have 1 ballot paper capturing all these positions of the Congress and the Senate, you know? Here is a situation where the lapses and the loopholes we are getting about the printing papers is we need to seriously go down and face it squarely. Our general election is what is challenging us. It is not IEBC. For example, now, Yvonne, early 2018, we are going to have the mandatory constitutional boundary reviews by the same IEBC.
Right.
Nobody is thinking and planning ahead. For the boundary review, we are not coming up with modalities. We are going to adapt to either have increasing our boundary, our constituencies, or reducing them. We are only waiting to reach that time, then we start reacting like we are reacting now. Because 2018 is just on the corner. After 2017, the next task for IEBC is to review our boundaries, political boundaries, constituency boundaries. Now we are talking about, we are getting challenged from the word general election as it is indicated in the election. Are we able to come up with a better way of having a presidential election and a general election for the other positions and the different dates? Or are we able now to integrate this and manage them effectively, free and fairly, you know, as we are talking about? We are talking about the ballot paper now. Why don't we have a ballot paper, a single ballot paper capturing the president, the governors, the senators together, and we have the woman rep, the MPs, and the MCAs in one ballot paper again. Because the lapses we have in here is so many ballot papers, 6 of them. And this is a recipe for rigging and the malpractices.
If
we can isolate
it all goes back to one thing.
Go back to the register now.
No, it goes back to one thing.
For the register, every registered voter must have authenticated and confirmed and checked back his position. I did it. But still, we are having serious omissions where people have either disappeared or transferred to some other places.
Michelle, you asked a good question.
And these are lapses that are bedeviling our process, and it is only omission by man and the people we trusted to man this. We don't blame the machines. We don't blame the equipment.
Amunga, let's
we
come.
blame-
We're not doing
blame-
justice to the issue. I think the main
Yeah,
issue is
yeah.
this.
Address the issue.
The credibility of the register.
Yeah.
Now, when KPMG came out with the report, they said we have about 1.2 million individuals who need to be removed from the register.
Right.
This constituted, so to speak, those who are either dead or whose identities could not be confirmed.
Right.
So let's take the assumption there were about 1 million dead voters that needed to be removed from this register. Now, when you key, the majority of the population are able to ascertain that they are still in the register, those who are eligible to vote. But what is quite disturbing is the fact that all the dead voters are still in the register. Now, this is the responsibility that the IEBC was supposed to undertake to clean up the register. To date, it has not been done. All you need to do is to pick the identity of any person who has been deceased in the recent past.
Have
You'll
you
still
done that?
find that they are in the register.
Have you done that? You see, I don't. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, or let me just say, my dear friends, when we are seated here on this set, is let's not make sweeping statements without much proof.
Amunga,
What-
just before you continue,
Yes.
have you not seen what's been going around on
Yes.
social media? Have you tried
I've
sending
seen on
up the
social
numbers
media, I saw
0, number
somebody
1,
said
number
1,
2,
2,
and
number
coming
1,
back
2,
as
3, 4, 5,
registered
6, 7,
voters?
8.
That being said,
Yes.
carry on.
Yes, I've seen that on social media. I read it. I followed up. I was following on Twitter as people were trying to send a number like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it comes out and says you are a registered voter.
Right.
Well, one thing I want to say is that again, as I said earlier, that's one side of the story. We are yet to hear a response from the IEBC. And again, apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, one thing we need to agree: our constitution we voted for overwhelmingly. It's like, what do they say in English? We took too much that we can't chew. How do you say that?
I think that argument is incredible.
That's
The fact of the
argument.
matter
Before you
is
wind
And
up,
that's what
We
I
have dead
saw
voters on
yesterday.
the
I saw
register.
even that is a problem.
before you wind up, let's
Yes.
consider the fact that it is the electorate that is sending out these numbers to get feedback on the verification. And also the fact that there shouldn't be two sides of the story when it comes to IBC and the electorate. They really should be speaking in one voice in terms of transparency of the process, in terms of why this really is happening. We haven't seen that being addressed.
us
We have
also-
cases where the voter goes physically to the IBC and
Yes.
they tell them, your results, your details have correctly been captured,
Yeah.
but the information is different on the portal, digital portal.
Yes. IEBC needs to respond. I don't hold brief for IEBC. Can IEBC respond to these queries? So far, they've not responded. But it's good for Kenyans to point out those things. It's important that we say them out. It's important, as Captain says, you send your number. I sent mine, and I discovered I'm a registered voter in Huisero. My polling station is Shivinga. That's very clear. My family members also did the same. It's clear.
Right.
But let us also appreciate the fact that Kenyans are very, very creative. Especially Kenyans on Twitter and on social media, very creative people. So they come up with all sorts of issues.
can't create
and
dead
I've reached
people,
a
my
place
friends.
personally. I follow social media. I love it, but I don't take everything as gospel truth, which I read on social
go,
media.
Captain, go ahead.
We are seeing a situation where dead persons are captured in our national data. Death and Birth Registration Bureau of Kenya. It is under the main registration of persons. It is always important to integrate our records. Right now, when you are dead, for example, if somebody passes on, until it is registered and a confirmed a death certificate is given and the clinically pronounced dead is when we know this person is dead. We don't go, or any person has not been tasked or given the responsibility, or any institution has not been created to follow up these details and ensure that this person is removed from any list or registered anywhere that he is no longer a living person, you know. We only come with an imagination and a kind of an aspect that we have 1 million dead voters. So be it. In the Muslim community, people die and they are buried immediately. Some of them even don't go to register them and get birth certificates.
Right.
So we are talking about a situation we need to have a very credible register and an integrated system. Sometimes you wonder, the independence of our electoral body is not any independence, in the sense that this institution, we have the commissioners and we have the secretariat. One has got a mandate, the other one, has got a tenure of office, and the other one is just employed personalities who are hired like any other ordinary civil servants.
Right.
And the two institutions are working together, complementing each other. The commission providing the oversight role to the secretariat. The people who are managing these data and records is the secretariat. And the commission is just responding and verifying the reports they get from the secretariat. So I'm talking about a situation we need to seriously review and continuously research on our electoral process and continue perfecting it.
All right.
Otherwise, we will have
That's a
this
good
kind
point.
of lapses
And I think
the
that is-
blames.
that is the
Besides that,
point.
Yvonne, today our independent electoral commission body is more or less a government agency in the sense that it is not independent in its budget. It is drawing its money from the treasury as a self-accounting unit. It is only self-accounting unit that draws money from the treasury.
All right.
Who is the head of the treasury? Is a political appointee in the name of the Minister for Treasury,
We
for
don't
Finance.
blame the government, we
Right.
blame the constitution if that's the case. And I'm not sure if that's the case.
When the government is directly financing, is directly taking part in the appointments of these institutions and vetting them, it cannot, there is either independent in the sense that you are a volunteer or you are working for the government.
All right.
You know?
But let me hear from Amunga in terms of the independence, really just bringing in
Yes.
the manner that they get funding. Your thoughts on
All
that?
these things are
and
in the
also
Constitution.
your thoughts on the issue of perception, because this is really an important issue.
It's
37
perception.
days
Actually,
to the
that's
election.
the whole word. What you're saying is very right. We have perceptions. And you know, politicians, and my brother Captain here is our incoming, let me use that word, MP in Garissa. These are politicians. And many times when politicians make statements, they form perceptions. Because when they say a statement like, it's like the government that is running IEBC, you know, that's a statement that's too sweeping, too general. The Constitution is very clear on how the IEBC is supposed to be. And if it's true that the IEBC gets money from Treasury, it is in the Constitution. The thing we need to be talking about, therefore, is do we allow this Constitution of ours to continue guiding us the way it is? Or does it have some loopholes? Are there areas we need to change? But otherwise, in the independence of the IEBC, the Constitution guards it and declares it to be an independent commission.
All right. I'd like to wind up this conversation with Harvey on this topic because, like I said, the issue of perception is rather important. So let's focus on the matter at hand now. And this is the issue of the credibility of the voters register, going by what is on social media and going by what you're getting when you send numbers to the digital platform. A perception has already been created. It is very dangerous, 37 days to the general election. What options legally do we have, Wakili?
The task that KPMG was mandated to do was to clean up and give a correct report on the authenticity of the register. Now, KPMG came up with a report which appears not to be satisfactory, but I think is good for now. And the main concern that really Kenyans have to deal with is the cleaning up of that register. Invariably, taking into account the fact that there has to be integration in the registrar of persons, it should not be a very difficult exercise for the IBC to ascertain which individuals are deceased and ought to be removed from the register. And that has been the main concern. Way forward is simply to do that which has to be done. Remove the names of the dead voters from the register so that, as the priest we've seen in page 11 say, we don't want these people to arise vote on the 8th of August, then thereafter disappear to the dead
there's
again.
all these complications that Captain Captain has brought in terms of the Muslim community, for example, they die and they're buried almost immediately. Very few actually go seeking for those death certificates, and that could complicate the situation.
What Captain says is quite true, but it's very difficult to debate with facts. I did my own test. I forwarded the name of one of my best friends, the late Jacob Juma. I forwarded his ID number and passport to IBC. It's a matter of public notoriety that there is a death certificate for the late Jacob Juma. He's still registered. Please, let me reason here. His identities are still with the IBC. It's not in the realm of conjecture. Many other individuals, I saw the other day, Philip Etale, forwarded the name of his deceased mother who died about 2 years ago. It's still in the register. So these are great issues of concern. We take into account the possibility that there are many other deaths that could not have been reported, registered. But we are basing on a factual analysis of what is there. It is the task that the IBC has to, in conjunction with KPMG, as well as the registrar of persons, to ensure that it's cleaned up
Yes.
Otherwise, if it's not done in that particular manner, however good they do their job, the perception will still be that they are compromised. There are no ways of verifying the credibility of what they're doing.
All right.
Chebukati and Ezra Cheloba need to do their job. I think that is the whole thing Kenyans are saying. Let them do their job. They've been given a job to do. Do your job, guys. Let us not have these issues like what my brother is raising, that Jacob Juma's name is still on the IEBC. That's a shame. And I tend to think that nobody can support them for that. There's something they normally say, let every person carry his cross. And I think this should be a warning to Chebukati and Chiloba.
You've now converted. Eh?
No, I'm not converted. I always stand on the side of the truth. And if the truth is that dead voters are still on the register, and we are supposed to have been, they need to be removed.
All right, Captain.
Yvonne, they have always said, Wakili is here, the law is not what we think. It is what is written. And if we go by that as a cardinal rule, we will have solutions to so many of these challenges we are facing now. What I see is like our reaction to elections, like now, this current moment, is a situation we are just preparing elections for Raila against Uhuru, or Uhuru against Raila. Every thinking we are blinkered to defend one side. But I thought our election processes is for the future and our prosperity as a nation and the growth of our democracy. Any challenge we identify now, we must provide immediate solutions, and it should not be seen to be partisan challenge, you know?
Yeah.
We are talking about a situation we will have elections as it is a calendar event in our constitution. It's a cycle of every 5 years. We should have an institution that is able, after the elections, normally, our Independent Electoral Commission goes on a lull period, you know? They should be doing research and consult institutions, learned institutions, minds and the talents in Kenya to come up with solutions to these immediate handles and selections so that we can put them in practice. Remember, we have general elections and we have even runoff election. Runoff election is a different election from the general election because it's going to be a presidential concept.
And now that you bring it up, we only have
now
only
finally
2
what
minutes.
I'm saying to this issue is about the register.
Maybe you could couple that with the fact that on page 23 of the paper here, a new poll shows that Uhuru and Raila runoff is likely.